Daf Dalet Amud Beis, the top line, first line on the Amud at the end of the line. So we had a machlokes previously between Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish as far as what we would accept from Nochrim for the Binyan Beis HaMikdash. According to Rish Lakish, he holds that we don't accept anything from them, whether it's a Dover Mesuyim or not a Dover Mesuyim, whether it's at the building, the beginning of the Tchila, or B'Saif, or even after the Beis HaMikdash is built. We don't accept anything from them. So Zok the Gemara, Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish Pasala, Rabbi Shimon Lakish explains as follows. The pasuk says, Lo ilachem v'lanu livnais beis abayis lalekenu. It's not for you and us to build together the Beis HaMikdash. We'll build it by ourselves. We'll build it alone. But it's not when there was an offer made by the Kusim to build the Beis HaMikdash. The response was, it's not for us to build it together. It's for us to build it alone. So therefore, we don't accept anything from the Nachrim. Rabbi Chizkiah, Rabbi Simon Shol, so he therefore asked, Mi'ata, we should come out from this, but therefore we should extend this further and say, Ein mekabel mehem alamas hamayim. We shouldn't accept anything from them, not even for the alamas hamayim, not even for the stream of water, the canal that was used as a drainage ditch to drain out the dam, etc. We shall not even accept that from them. And not for the city walls or the towers. Al shenemar, al shem shenemar, v'lechem ein chelik, because it says that you have no portion of a or zchus in Yerushalayim. So therefore, we shouldn't accept anything from them, and we shouldn't accept even for these items. We shouldn't accept it from them either. So therefore, he says that we don't accept anything, whether it's during the binyan or even after the binyan. The Mefarshim speak out that we don't see clearly over here that it's a Dover Mesuyim, a Dover Eina Mesuyim, or B'tchila Bein B'Saif. We don't see that clearly from the pasuk, because the pasuk itself that's quoted says only that Lo Lachem V'Alonu Livnei Bayis Lelekenu. So we don't see clearly that it includes all of these items, but the continuation of the pasuk that is brought down over here is that it says that Elokei Hashemayim hu yatzliach lanu v'anachnu avadav nakumu v'nina v'lachem ein chelek tzedakah v'zichron v'Yerushalayim. So what's being quoted over here is a pasuk which is later on, which is in Nehemiah Perek Chaf, which is later on than the pasuk previously quoted, which was a pasuk in Ezra, but this pasuk over here extends the concept further as that there's no chelek tzedakah v'zichron b'Yerushalayim, and therefore it extends that idea that we can't accept anything from them, anything at all, even if it's not related to the binyan of the Beis HaMikdash, or even if it's not a Dover Mesuyim. Then the Mishnah said, what's in the brackets over here, the Goyen is not Goyersit, so we will not, we're not to learn that. We skip down to it, it says, Masnisa, my time of the Ramer. What's the reason for Ramer? We had a machlokes between Ramer and Chachamim. Is it if a person gives a selah, he gives a selah, meaning it's made up of 2 half shkalim for him and his friend. Is it 1 kalban that you have to give? It's 1 surcharge amount that you give, or 2? So Ramer says it's 2. What's the reasoning for Ramer? The Homer Ramer says, Keshem sheshiklu teira kach kalba, kem sheshiklu teira kach kalboino teira. Just like the machzis shekel itself is a din deraisa, zayitnu kolayver al pkudim machzis shekel v'shekel kodesh. There was also a din midaraisa of a kalban. According to the Chachamim, the kalban, the surcharge, is not a din deraisa. The kalban is that because if you have to exchange the money and give it to a money changer, so therefore there was a surcharge to cover service fee, also to cover the fact that there might be a slight discrepancy in price, because since there's a high demand between the machzas a shekel, it actually 2 machzas a shekel might be worth slightly more than a seller. So to cover that difference, you have to add a surcharge. But that's only one surcharge for that you'd have to pay, one kalban that you would have to pay for the seller. According to Rameir, he holds no, it's a din Torah. It's a din Torah that the Torah is obligated us to give a machzas a shekel. The machzas a shekel has to be according to the shekel, as we'll see in the Gemara. The machzas a shekel has to be ze yitnu. It has to be given exactly the way the machzas a shekel was given, was shown to Moshe Rabbeinu, and therefore, to make sure, to ensure that it is not less than the machzas shekel of Moshe Rabbeinu, and the machzas shekel of Moshe Rabbeinu was completely pure. Therefore, we have to add on a surcharge to ensure that the machzas shekel we're giving is not deficient. So it's a din taraisa, it's a din menatira. Therefore, if 2 people are giving a machzas shekel, even if though both of them are joined together with one seller, they're giving one seller, they have to give a 2 kolbainis, because each machzas shekel has to have a surcharge added onto it. So Kasam Rameri holds Benaisen Shikla Shalim, if he gives a full shekel, Shu Chayev Shnei Kalbainas. He has to give 2 kalbainas. The Amar Rab Meir, he says, Kimin Madbei Shalish, Oitzi Kodesh Baruch Hu, Mitachas Kisa Kivaida. When the Rabbeinu Shalom wanted to show Moshe Rabbeinu what is it that they should give, what is a machzas a shekel, so he took a coin from a dugma of a coin from the fire underneath the kisei kavod ve'her l'Moshe, and he showed it to Moshe Rabbeinu v'Omer lo, and he said, "Zeh yitnu, kazeh yitnu." This is what you have, like this. So it has to be exactly like this. It can't be less. So therefore, the kalvan is a din in minatayram to ensure that there's not going to be anything less than the machzas a shekel that was shown to Moshe Rabbeinu. Therefore, if 2 people are shekel with a seller, each have to give a kalban. So if a person gave a seller and he's now getting change, he's getting a machzas shekel in return. So he gives a seller, now he gets change, he gets in return, he gets a machzas shekel. So one machzas shekel is for his obligation, the other one is his change. So in such a case, then he has to pay 2 chayev shnei kolbainis. He has to pay 2 kolbainis. Amar Rabbi Elazar, who's the mandamar who said this? That's the Rameri. It's Ramer. The Ramer Amar Ramer says echad shekel yehushu noisen ve'echad salashu noita l'divrei Torah. He says that it's a deraisa, the kolon is divrei Torah. So therefore, he needs a shekel. He has to give a kalban for the machzas shekel that he's giving, and for the exchange, for the money changer, for the exchange, he also has to give a kalban. Meaning that in addition to the kalban that's given by Torah, if there's an exchange of money, if you're getting change, there's a money changing, you have to give a kalban as well. These are the people who have a kalban. One who gives a sell and takes a shekel, he has to pay a kalban. Now, the kalban echad, that is the chacham say 1 kalban, but for Ramer Aimer shnei kolbanis. So Ramer says 2. So this that it says that chai shnei kolbanis, he says therefore Rabbi Elazar says it is according tafka to Ramer. But the Rav argues and he says no, Divra Koli. He says it's according to everybody. Even the Tanakama, even the Chachama would agree that you'd have to give 2. So because he also agrees the Echad Shekel Shu Naisen, Echad Shekel Noita. And because he has to give a kalban for the shekel that he gives and for the one that he gives in return. So they would also agree that you have to give 2. One is for the shekel that he's giving, but he's also getting one in exchange. So you also have to give 2. It's viewed as therefore he has a kalban for the one that he's giving, but for the change that he gets, he also has to give a kalban. So therefore, the Gemara says, according to Rav, that there is a din d'oraisa for a kalban, and in addition, he also holds that there is a surcharge to pay the kalban for the money, for the exchange of money and for the change that you get. Well, if that's the case, I'll die to the Rav, shleisha kolbanas inan, that you have to pay 3 kolbanas. You'd have to give one for the money that the matzahs a shekel that he gives, and that if you give a selah and you get a shekel for an exchange, you have to give one for the shekel that matzahs shekel that he gives, the raisa to get in, and we have to give one for the selah that he pays, the money exchange, the exchange of money for what he gives and he gets in return. Also, Rabbi Yirmiyah, Shmuel, Rav Yitzchak b'shem Rav. So he said that Rav Shmuel, Rav Yitzchak said in the name of Rav, Shleish l'kolbonos in. Yes, there are 3 kolbonos. Echad shekel shu noisen, one for the kalban that he gives. V'echad shekel shu noitel. So there's the exchange of money for the one that he gives, what he gets in return. V'echad l'dvar ter, and one for dvar ter, for the din deraisa of the kalban. The Mishnah continues on and discusses the din of the achim hashutfim. Ha'achim v'hashutfim. So the Mishnah said that if you have brothers who are partners, so the dinim of the kalban and the meiser are inversely related. So achim v'hashutfim shechayam b'kalban uptur min meiser behema. So we have a case, we say when they're the brothers who are shutfim, if they're chayiv in the kalban, meaning it's considered to be that they are separate, it's not considered the estate, they're considered to be separate, they're chayiv b'kalban, they're like two people who give a selah, they jointly give a selah, and they're chayiv b'kalban. In such a case, they're p'tur meiser. In such a case, they're potter from meiser. The din by meiser is that shutfim partners are potter from meiser. If they have a flock b'shutfus, and there is the new flock that is born, they're potter from giving the 1 in 10, the 10th to meiser. That it's meiser behem, it has to be brought in Yerushalayim. They're potter. It has to be only if a person owns it completely. The pasuk by Bechorah says Asher Yeh Eloi. It has to belong to him totally, completely, 100%. We learn out Meiser from Bechorah. So therefore, if it's a partnership, there's a tour from Meiser. So the dinim are inversely related. If we consider them to be partners, they're potter from Meiser Behema. But partners are chayav in a kalban. If they are considered to be not partners, it's the estate, it's the tfusas abayis, it's the estate is intact, they're not partners, they're chayiv in meiser behema, then they're potter in kalban. So therefore, Zakti Mora, Hachen v'hashutim shachayam bekalban u'ptur ben meiser behema, that's b'shechalke v'chazer v'nishtat. That's if they divided the estate. So Reuven and Shimon inherited. They inherited from Yaakov. Now they have this inheritance. They divided the estate. So the estate has been divided. So now it's no longer considered to be the Tusas Abayis. It's not the estate. Now they each have their portion. If they then join together as a partnership, they're like two regular partners. They're like two partners. And therefore, they're like partners. They're potter mimaisa. But they're like two people, so if they give a selah jointly, they're like two people who together give a selah, that it's not a matana, it's each one, they're joining together, they're giving this selah, they're chayiv b'kalban. What's the case? Where the chayiv in meiser behema and they're p'tur min a kalban, meaning so that we don't consider them to be partners. So what is that case? That case is that if they did not divide the estate, it's the estate is intact, and therefore they're not partners. They're therefore not potter meiser behema, but they are p'tur min a kalban. They're p'tur from a kalban because the estate is giving this selah on behalf of the two. So each one is considered to be giving a matana to the other one. And we said, well, there's a matana, you don't have to give the kalban. So therefore, they're not two partners. It's the estate giving it. It's the estate giving it on behalf of these two Yarshim. And therefore, it's one Nesina on behalf of each one. And so, therefore, it's a matana to each one of them. Each one is giving a matana to the other one. Amar Rabbi Eliezer said this din that we learned in the Mishnah, that if the Achim are shutfim, that they're potter from Meiser Behema, that they're considered to be potter, considered to be partners, and they're potter from Meiser Behema. When is that said? That's said when the estate has different types of animals. For instance, the estate has Gediyim and has Yoshim, so it has kids and it has the rams. It has different types of animals, and they have the different animals, and each brother took one of the animals, one group of the animals. So, for instance, if the estate had Gediyim and Yoshim, so if Reuven and Shimon, for instance, they inherited from Yaakov. If Reuven took the Gediyim, so now what's he doing when he takes the Gediyim? He's taking the Gediyim. He's in effect the Yerusha, the estate, was each brother had both Gediyim and Yoshim. They both had a chelik in everything. So by him taking the Gediyim, he's in effect purchasing the 50% of the Gediyim that he didn't inherit. So he's considered to be a purchaser. And likewise, Shimon is considered to be a purchaser of the Tioshim, of the 50% of the Tioshim that he didn't inherit. So they're considered to be purchasers. They're buying each one's chelik from each other. They're buying each one's share from each other. So therefore, this is not what they inherited. They didn't inherit. The inheritance wasn't that one brother, one son takes the Gedim, the other Tioshim. By now dividing in this way, they're purchasing the shares from each other. Then, when they become partners together, then they're considered to be genuine partners. So they're shutfim, and the shutfim are potter from Meiser Behema. Aval im chalke gedim keneged liyim Tioshim keneged Tioshim. But if the estate had only one type of animal, and one brother took half the Gedim, for instance. Let's say the estate only had Gedim. Reuven took half and Shimon took half. Then we say, because he says we apply the principle of Breira, we say that the estate has not changed. And the Tfisas Abayis still remains. Nothing has changed in the estate. When Yaakov died, the one brother, Reuven, inherited half of the animals. We don't know which half. And Shimon inherited the other half. Now, when they divided it up, so let's say it's only Gediyim, and Reuven takes 50% and Shimon takes 50%, we say, Hoover, Dover Lamafreya, that this 50%, these Gediyim that Reuven took, were always what he was meant to inherit. This was his inheritance. So at the time that Yaakov died, these were really his, right from the beginning. And Shimon, this was his right from the beginning. So therefore, the inheritance, the estate, is still intact. And now, when they become partners together, they are now just joining together the animals that were always there to each party, that belonged to each party at the time of Yaakov's Petira. So therefore, they're not becoming partners. There is the Tfisas Abayis is still intact, and this is considered the animals that they inherited when they joined together. That's the status of it was at the time of Yaakov's Petira. So they're not partners. They're not considered to be that they're joined together in partnership. The estate is intact, the Yarshim, and the Yarshim are Potor, and the Yarshim are Chayev, the Yarshim are Chayev in Meiser Behema. The father was Chayev in Meiser Behema, and the Yarshim are Chayev, so they're not considered to be genuine partners. But Rav Yochanan argues, now Rav Yochanan does not hold a brayer, so therefore he says, there's no difference, because we say that this is considered a purchase. We don't say that this was what they always were meant to inherit. We say that when Reuven took 50% of the Gediyim, he is buying this Shimon's chelik in these Gediyim. Now he has 50%. He had 50% of everything. Now he's taking 100% of this group. So therefore, he's buying out Shimon's 50% in this group, and he's selling his 50% in the other group that Shimon took. So they're considered to be purchasers. They're kilekuchas, that therefore they're considered to be lekuchas, and therefore they purchase each other's chelik when they join together in a partnership. Therefore they're considered to be shutfim, and therefore upturim min hamaiser. Kahid tanin lekaman halakuach ushenitin lebematona poter mimaiser behema. Like it says that we learned that someone who is at purchase, it was given to him a matona, he's potter from maiser behema. So similarly over here, that they are purchasing the chelik from each other. So therefore they're buying each other's group, each other's chelik, and therefore they're potter from maiser behema. Rabbi Chia, Rabbi Yirmiyah, boy, he asked, unless non-amrinan, why don't we say why don't we say that there's a scenario when it'll be chayav in both ma'aser behema and in the kalman, and there's a scenario where there be potter from both, as the Gemara in this next Talmud will then detail what's the scenario that will be chayav in both and potter in both, as Hashem will see.